Okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Hey everyone, it's Warren. Good evening.
All right. I'm letting everybody in.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you hear me, Fred?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start letting people in.
Okay.
All right. I'm making you a co-host.
And remember, everybody's on mute.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. We're just going to allow a couple more minutes for some additional members to join, and then we'll begin.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Call, Ms.
Mr.
Williams.
Chair, I wanted to just tell you that I'm having some problem with my phone. The phone company is supposed to be here, so if they come, I just want to know about what time you guys will be voting and stuff, so that if not, I could call back if I have to get off. So this is important that I have no phone.
It depends on how quickly we run through the agenda. I'm not seeing too many members of the public and not too many chairs, but I believe we do have a quorum of the executive committee. So,
Well, you have a quorum, so if I don't get to call back, is okay?
no, actually, you're the quorum.
You have a quorum.
With you, yeah. If you leave,
Yes.
we lose it.
I want to come back because I don't have a phone and I can't stay here without a phone overnight. So they're supposed to be coming. If they come, then I have to step off. That's all. And I'll try
Okay.
to come.
Around what
All right.
time do you expect? Around what time do you expect them to come? About how long do we have you for?
Their last time to be here would be 8. If they're not here by 8 o'clock, then they're not coming.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you what. As we do have a quorum right now, let us, and it is 7:11 at this time. Let us just begin. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through the agenda and take care of any items as well.
Okay, I'm
Madam
so
Secretary,
sorry.
are you ready? No problem. Madam
Yes.
Secretary, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We are going to call the meeting to order. The time is now 7:12 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Fred Baptiste, Chair of CB9. But I think it's all family here at this point, or this is all board members. But in any case, we're going to waive the reading of the rules of conduct. Are there any members of the public with us at this time? Okay, I see none. All right, I think let's just go straight into the committee chair reports. Let's see, Alejandra, as I see you on my left, do you have a report for housing?
I don't. We were originally supposed to hear from one of either the apologies. Sorry, it's been a long day. We were supposed to hear from Assembly Member Diana Richardson's office or State Senator Zalman Myrie. Unfortunately, I guess with the end of session and them still not knowing entirely how the new budget would impact tenants, they declined. So we didn't have our meeting. We wrapped up pretty shortly, so nothing major. And I think we also just discussed what would happen if 960 Franklin went forward and the TRO was lifted, which just happened, but I needed to know more. So
Understood. Okay, thank you. Primo, I see you next. Do you have a report for youth services?
You guys probably got a bunch of emails from me today. I sent off a bunch of emails anyway, so Dante, no pressure. We're still looking for a space, and so I reached out to the community board office, trying to generate some connections and some interest. I heard we have a contact at PS 61. Trying to get in contact with the kind of Parks and Recreation Committee. To see if there's any connections there. Again, I raised this at the larger board meeting, but didn't really get any response. We're dragging a little bit, honestly, in terms of trying to find a space for August, so that we can move forward. Part of that is just my fault, and part of that I think is a tendency historically for us to shut down over the summer. So this is kind of an atypical assignment for the Youth Services Committee. But we're gonna push ahead and keep trying to see if we can find a space, and once we're able to find a space, then things really can take off. But that's our first step. So maybe I'll wait on Dante in the office to get back to me tomorrow, and then
No worries. And if there's anything I can do to be of assistance, let me know. If you want to talk offline, we can talk offline and see, if there's any other options, maybe we can, work the network and see what we can find.
All right. If we don't have anything come next week, then if I don't have any good leads come next week, then I'll reach out to you.
Okay,
What
very well.
Can I
what
add
event is this? I just
something?
want to get it right.
Okay. Can I add something? There was a meeting of the education committee. There's one member of the committee who have asked, who know the information regarding the space on the Bosinga High School field on Troy and Schenectady. She said she lives really across the street. She said she knows the people there. Maybe we should reach out to her. I don't remember her name because I remember she mentioned that.
I can't really hear you, Nicholas. I don't know if other people can.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? Is this better?
Better.
Yeah, at the meeting of the youth committee where I had told them about the similar idea, there was one member of that committee that lived across the street from the Bosinga High School field, which is Troy Ave, I think it's Maple, right behind Jack Robinson High School, right behind also on Schenectady, the hospital, Kingsbrook Hospital. She said, this is about of facilities. She said she know the people there. I don't remember her name. Maybe you could reach out to the education committee and get that information. That should have been in their minute at the last meeting.
Okay, I'll reach out. I'll reach out to Riel, who's the chair of the committee.
Right. Okay.
Right. And I would also offer, because things are rapidly moving with regards to COVID and restrictions, I think we just crossed the 70% threshold. So I think we might see a lot of the restrictions are starting to go down. So maybe it's just a matter of timing. So we might see some things opening up, opportunities we didn't have even a few days ago. So this is probably a good time. We still might have some opportunities there, or some places we can go back to.
Okay. Sounds good. We can do that. We kind of need to get something by July, so that we can make a flyer and distribute it to people.
Absolutely.
And give me a month kind of to actually get the word out and get moving. Our next meeting is, the first week of July. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? We'll move that, but hopefully we can get something sorted by the early July. Give us 3 weeks space.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. As a matter of fact, as long as we got you then, do you have anything to report for nominations?
Sent an email about that today also. So we need to sort out the final details of the voting process. And so to my understanding, it's largely going to be a replication of last year's process, which was using SurveyMonkey in the meeting, as well as creating some breakout rooms for anybody who wanted to submit a vote on the phone basically and didn't have computer capacity. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm just waiting to hear back from the office on kind of the next steps around duplicating last year's SurveyMonkey survey. So to make sure that we're ready to go by Tuesday. So hopefully that's a process that will take only a few days, which I'd imagine it is, because making a survey on SurveyMonkey only really takes 15 minutes. Yeah, Dante, was that a raised hand for something or just in agreement?
Yeah, so what we found out today working on the, I guess, voting process was that with SurveyMonkey, we can only receive up to 40 responses. So since there's more than 40 board members, that wouldn't give everyone an opportunity to vote. So we're moving it to Google, and we're working.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know, 40 people aren't going to show up, 40 board members at the next meeting.
Just because you said that, watch.
I want everybody to have the opportunity to vote because I know I'll be crucified if I do not.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're going to move it to Google. We're going to test it tomorrow. So once we get that, once we see what data is generated after we test it, you'll receive an email from me letting you know, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what it looks like, and we're good to go.
Are you just doing a Google form?
Yeah. It's just going to be a Google form.
Oh, okay. That's
But
easy.
make sure before we do anything, I like to test it, make sure it's right.
As you should. You can say, I'm happy to test it as well if you want to send it to me.
Well, I'll add you to the, yeah. Okay, well, make sure that we add you to the thing. And then since
You also
he's
add me
already,
to the back end, just make me an editor on it so that I can see the survey results and how they show up.
can do that. Let me just add that to my little notes here. Perfect. Okay, and also you had sent another email in regards to some funding. I can answer that question in the morning after my call with OMB, but I'm not going to jump ahead until my DM report.
All right, cool.
Okay, thank you very much, Remo. Next, Parks and Recreation. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs.
Before you go there, can
Sure.
you hear me?
Yes.
Primo, I ask you a question. Are you meeting through July? And because we finished the end of June, so I don't understand what's going on here. What are you doing? we finished in June.
Well, why are our committees not allowed to meet after June? Is that a rule?
No,
It's not
committees
a
can
rule.
actually meet. The board is on hiatus, so there are no general board meetings scheduled in July and August, but committees can actually continue to work through the summer. Now, the only catch with regards to that is appointments end generally at the end of the year. So the only thing I would say is, depending, and this will be, we'll see what happens after the elections. The recommendation would be that we reappoint the committees to work through the summer, so the members will stay members of the committees until September.
Okay.
Well,
So that'll
I
give you the opportunity. Well, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
have to disagree with that. I mean, if we break during the summer, I think we should follow what the rules are now. If he wants to meet, because at the end of the day, like you have the board members, and the board members will not be meeting. And then when you reappoint people as chairs, it'll be in September. So I don't see why, that's not a good look. If this is what we normally do, then this is what we
I
should.
agree.
I don't think we should just start changing stuff in the middle like that.
I agree.
But I think if he wants to just meet with his own little team, that's a little different. But you can't expect the board members and whatnot to come in and be accountable. That's not a good look.
We're not expecting
Well,
the board members. It's just our
I agree.
subcommittee. That's all. We're just hosting an event. It's not like any board members have ever come to any of our previous events. There's no expectation.
No, but I had heard you say earlier, you say, I'll be having a meeting, I think maybe June, July 1st, or something like that you said. Didn't you say?
Oh,
that?
Sure, that was of our subcommittee. So I'm the only board member actually of that subcommittee, right? Along with my co-chair. Everybody else is kind of a volunteer on the subcommittee. Is that what you were talking about? I mean, that's the only group that I was.
So I was just trying to stay in order to what we normally do, you know, unless it's changed by by the entire board, because again, like I said, July and August, we don't meet.
Right, yeah. So I'm not having any board members meet. It would just be my subcommittee, which are all, just community volunteers.
And
But
you know, I'm always happy to join you, Primo. Don't worry about that. I'll be there.
Appreciate that. And I mean, Pat, if it makes it more helpful, I mean, I can express that it's, not mandatory to meet, we're just trying to drive towards one final event. And this all came from the subcommittee, I mean, the subcommittee is the one who wanted to do this. We discussed kind of in the group that their general board was taking a hiatus, but if they wanted to execute on one final event for the summer, that they could do that if they chose to. That's what they opted to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Nicholas.
I think he's frozen.
No, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we had a meeting last and I just received the minutes from the meeting, and I just like to make a report of that. And we had we had two presentations. We had a presentation from Person of Art by David Mandel from the New York City Department of Culture, and the Nila Razor from the Brooklyn Public Library regarding artwork by Outside Duvernay at Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn Public Library. I understand also the education committee and library committee was involved. We also had a presentation from RSVP volunteer program by Ms. Nola Mears Powell from CSS. And these were very interesting information, and a lot of the information, a lot of the work of ISVP is similar to the work that is being done with the Health and Social Service Committee. We the agenda item, we postpone for planning beginning September for the CB9 family field day. We tabled that for September, and we complete the survey for the Prospect Park Alliance. And we had some discussion about a closer relationship with the cultural institution, and the idea of having community liaison from the community for different there. So, and we talk about the way the community to be more organized. That's basically what we cover, and we are asking people to bring idea if they want to meet over the summer for pre-planning. Okay, that's what we cover. So that's my report.
Okay. Any questions for the PRC chair? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Almanor.
You're welcome.
Warren, do you have a report for environmental protection?
Yes, actually, I have two reports. Environmental protection, and excuse my screen not being on, but it's not. But anyway, for environmental protection, we had a meeting, which is the first time in 3 months. We discussed community issues. One of the highlights was less to do with our committee, but more for the administrative office, is that the Firestone garbage was all removed, and we have pictures. It looked like a pretty good thing. And I'm hoping that for next year, we get a share and we proceed on it, because this is an extremely important committee. In terms of 960, I think we have everything in line. We're certainly waiting to hear the testimony at the public hearing, and then we will submit our final comments to the EULA committee. I also just want to speak for a second on the Health Committee. Francesco was not able to appear due to work related. She just wanted me to tell everybody that on June 28th, we're having a partnership with Kings County Hospital. And the person speaking is a senior vice president, and he's speaking on the services of Kings County Hospital. And I certainly recommend for people who are interested or need health, healthcare services to attend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Environmental Protection Chair? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Warren. I'm sorry, Fireflies AI. Who's? I'm sorry, I'm not getting the name. Who's that?
I think that's real.
Ah, real. I apologize. Yeah, you think I know it by now. Do you have a report for education? Real, are you there?
He's muted.
Yeah, Real, are you there? Okay, I'm not certain he's there. We'll come back if he has a report to give.
Excuse me, Fred, I have one comment to make concerning that
Yes.
committee.
Yes.
On Saturday, they held a book giveaway at the office. And we had great esprit de corps in terms of a number of board members running it and not from the committee. And it was a great success. All right. So I attended. I know Mia was there, as well as a number of our board members, and we had a lot of traffic. So I just want to thank the committee.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Pat, I think this has been a little bit of a tradition this year. Do you have a report for
Always a
Euler?
blast. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. We held our last meeting for June, and our minutes have been submitted already. For 960 Avenue project, the TRO was lifted, I think, June 4th, it was lifted. And we became a part of the lawsuit with Alicia Board. Also, we had a presentation for the roof and landscape design for the Major R. Owens Health and Wellness Community Center, also known as the Bedford Union Armory. And they are going to give that same presentation at our board meeting. Now, there was a motion, and the motion was to neither support nor oppose the design changing as proposed, given that the design concerns private space and is not accessible to the community. But however, we did bring it forward because they want a letter of support from our board. As far as the public hearing is concerned, I think Fred went to the hearing, so he will bring you up to date as to basically what's going to happen on the 21st. But at my meeting at that particular time, we were not able to schedule anything because we were waiting for the courts to let us know whether we were going forward or not. And I think we are going to go forward at this point. And that's about it.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say that as far as the ULUP committee, we will be at the public hearing, but Fred will be chairing. And at that meeting, I think we have to have at least 20% of our board members. That's it.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Mhm.
Are there any questions for the ULURP chair?
Dante,
Okay.
did you get your, I think you sent the email. Did you get your, I sent one back to you. You didn't know why they would give it a presentation, that particular group. So they're not going to talk long. It's really short, really. It's about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, with regards to that, the question was really, and I think that was asked in the ULURP, why are they coming to us? So Dante was reaching out to EDC to kind of get some clarity with regards to, well, you know, this is a rooftop garden that's not going to be accessible to the public, so why would they come to the board for that? But we did receive a response with respect to that as well, in that because it is on public land, the armory, all that land is still considered public land, so they do have to give notifications to the community when they do things. So this is not necessarily a letter of support. It's just a letter of acknowledgement, basically saying that yes, they did come before the community and reported the change with that in respect to that. So the only thing that we would give is, oh, I'm sorry, continue.
I'm sorry, but they were requesting from us a letter of support. So that's what their request was, remember?
Right, and I think that, you know, the question came up, and it was a fair point where a letter of support for what reason? But in the communication Dante had, it came back as not a letter of support. It's really a letter of acknowledgement that they came before the community. So with that, it's a neutral. If they come and present before the board, they present before the board, and to that we can acknowledge that, and they can get a letter for that. And it's nothing in favor or in support or against anything. It's acknowledging the fact that they came and presented before the ULURP and the board. That's all they're getting. Okay. All right then. And I'll have additional information to provide with regards to 960 as well and the hearing. I'll give that under my chairman's report. And I always mess up. Are there any other chairs who are online right now? Real, is Real there? Okay, seeing none. Seeing that, but I just do want to take this opportunity. I want to thank all of the chairs for all of the hard work you have done. This has been a very difficult year, understatement of the year probably, but you know, you've done a lot of work, so much work. You've kept this board moving. You've addressed the issues. You know, you're doing work. You're planning programs. You've implemented programs, more importantly, in a COVID environment. So I just want to say thank you for all of your service and the service of all of your members of your committees for this entire year. This is what community service and this is what public service is all about. Doing it selflessly because I know we don't pay you. But yet you still come to your meetings, you honor your commitments as board members, and you do the work on behalf of this district, and I thank you. All right, we are now going to move on to the agenda. Dante, do you have an administrative office check-in?
Yeah. It'll be relatively brief, but so the district service cabinet is set to meet for the second time on July 6th. We met on the 1st of June, which was more of a introductory meeting, introducing myself, setting expectations for how this cabinet is going to run, setting expectations for what I expect from the agency representatives, and kind of the structure of how this is going to play out as we move through the summer and through into next year. So we're going to be hitting the ground running. I'm really hoping and I'm foreseeing that, you know, since there's this summer hiatus, you know, we're still working. The board is, the cabinet's still going to be meeting. So hopefully by the time, you know, we get into the fall, it's a well-oiled machine. And so, you know, we're going to be taking the summer months to do those meetings, but also, you know, shoring up any loose ends that need to be addressed before the board comes back in the fall. The next thing that I have on my report is the DSNY sponsor basket program is coming to fruition. They're not on the call, but I wanted to thank Beverly and Suki for sending an email to the office with their additions to the list of where they felt like some receptacles could be placed. I also want to take the time to thank DSNY. I am an annoying emailer, so they have been very diligent in helping me through this process. And so, you know, I'm very pleased to say that, you know, the original order was 20, And then over maybe the past 5 days, we were able to accommodate Beverly's and Suki's requests and add an additional 10. So we're going to be having 30 baskets come to the district. So I'm very pleased about that. And as I've said this multiple times in exec and general board meetings, but we're still in the process of adding committee meetings to YouTube. So they're accessible to the public. It's a lot of data, and we're actually running out of it. So over the summer months, we're going to take a look at that to figure out, what steps do we need to take moving forward to be able to upload these committee meetings and the agendas and the minutes, all of that stuff to the website and or to YouTube. So it's quickly accessible to the public. So with that, I will jump down to the budget update. So, I mean, it's basically everybody on the community board here, so I will be as candid as possible. On Friday, I received a call from OMB in which I was informed that we still have $18,500 left to spend by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. My previous 80,000 budget projections, let me finish. Projections were based on original conversations that I had with OMB. And on Friday, I was informed that those projections were incorrect. So we now have 18.5 and it's almost and all been allocated. Mostly is the additional trash cans, but we still have a little bit of funding left over. I just got to verify it first before I send you an email, Primo. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So it looks like we're going to be able to close the books almost or nearly close to zero, spending all the money that we're able to spend for the board. It is unfortunate that these inconsistencies have happened with the projections with OMB. But moving forward, I'm going to create my own budget mechanism tracking system, so I don't have to go back and forth with OMB and try to figure out how much funding that we have. I think that will be more beneficial in the future, so I'm able to update the board in a timely fashion. With that being said, we're still in the process because we still in the process of purchasing with the 18.5. So once the books are closed, I can give a full report on the budget of the office. And so with that, that's where we stand financially. We're close to capping it out right now. I think off the top of my head, the allocation, the last budget mod submitted was $18,040 to OMB. So we have like little under 500. So Primo, if there's anything that you need or that is of interest.
So we went from 18,000 to 500. What y'all spend that money on? Trash cans?
Well, a lot of that. So 8,000 of that was trash cans, but then also another couple of thousand is infrastructural improvements to the office, mounting TVs. We have to get a new refrigerator.
TVs and fridges instead of giving it to the youth. I see you.
I will have an offline conversation with you about.
But they're really nice trash cans, though.
Better be.
But I will have
grand.
I will tell you, when I had the phone call on Friday, I was very upset. But I will have an offline conversation about that with you. But that's where we're at now. So
did you not expect to be 18K under budget?
I fully expected to have more than that.
More than that, I see.
Far more than that. And then
they like $500 left for the youth.
Yeah. So it's like a weird turn of events. I thought that we had a lot more than that. And then they said we have 18.5. So 2 or 3 of the budget modifications that we submitted weren't processed. So it just kind of fell in our lap where, okay, the trash cans were already put in the order, so we have to move the money, and we need a new refrigerator and these infrastructural changes to the office. But I will have that conversation with you, and regardless if it's in this fiscal year or next, we'll figure out something. We'll make it work.
All right, Dante. Everybody's heard witness. Dante's giving me all the money, so.
what little we have, yes.
Dante said he's also getting lunch for us all too.
Yeah,
the lunch is on him.
New TVs and new fridges. Yeah, should be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had the same reaction when I heard the news. Honestly, it's like I thought when it was reported about the amount that was there, I thought it was too good to be true, and it ended up it was too good to be true.
Was.
But I think that, listen, I think we still were able to do a significant amount of good for the community. There's a durable good that's going to happen. And I think that going to go forward as well, this is part of the reason why I still say that for all the committees who are planning events, continue to plan the events, especially create budgets with lines in terms of what it is that you need to accomplish that. The off season is a little bit helpful for us in terms of we're not necessarily bogged down with the day-to-day and the committees, but we also have opportunities in terms of doing fundraising on behalf of the board. So it's always very helpful in terms of if we have those numbers, now we can actually start going out to stakeholders to see what we can do to make sure that we accomplish those things. And it's important too because we always have the challenge that even when we do have the money, there are definitely limitations that we have because the board is a city agency in terms of how we can spend it. So this gives us the opportunity in terms of looking, doing the reviews, seeing what the board truly could pay for if there is money available or what we could shoulder from the board perspective. But more importantly, it helps us understand what we need to do to hustle to go and make sure we can fund these activities. Because all these activities are great, they're worthwhile, they are definitely things that the board should undertake. But now we can think strategically about it and try and do everything we need to do to make them happen. All right, are there any other questions for the district manager?
Yeah, I have a question, but I agree with you saying, Fred, I agree with you. First of all, with the city money, they're all on the sub-objects anyway, so he can't just turn around and do whatever he so chooses, because it would be coming out of Dante's pocket. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, Dante, are y'all maintaining a log, when the community comes in terms of complaints? Because I know that's a requirement.
Yes. So what we do is we have an Excel file. So when someone comes in, when they call the office, when we are, notified by a member of the public with a complaint or an inquiry, it doesn't always have to be a complaint. Yes, we keep a log, an Excel file, and this is part of the district service cabinet moving forward. Is something that I'm looking at doing. District managers handle theirs differently, but what I want to do is take that log, so the inquiries, the complaints that come in, and just normal day-to-day problems that we see out in the community, send it to the agencies before my district service cabinet meetings. So when I actually meet with them, they can provide a report. I think that makes the process smoother, and that also gives me an opportunity to be able to update the community board on those specific issues that were brought to the office or through calls or through emails. So yes, we do keep a log, and moving forward, it's not hefty, but what we want to do, and this is kind of part of my vision for this, for the office, is even though we may not get a lot of complaints, what we want to do is see more complaints, because that means that we're engaging the public, right? We know that people complain, that's just kind of the way that it is, but we want people to know that we're a resource for them to connect with these agencies, because agencies are big and they can be rather difficult to navigate. And so we want them to know that they can come to the community board, issue their complaint, and then someone's going to follow up with the agency on it, and then they're going to receive a response from the community board stating, okay, this is where we're at, and this is the course moving forward.
The reason I asked you that is because board members, they have the right to come in and audit your law. So it has to be something where they can actually look at something and know what's going on. And community people can actually look at it also. The second thing I wanted to ask you, in terms of your cabinet members, do you have a listing of who they are? Because the board members would definitely like to have a copy of who these people are and what are they representing, like transportation or whoever. We'd like to know who these people are.
Yeah, sure. I can definitely, I can definitely put that list together and send it out to the board. That's no problem at all.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, thank you very much for the administrative report. We are now going to go on to the next item on the agenda, item 5, the chairman check-in. we got a few things actually this month to talk about. So I think we're winding up the year. There's just a lot of movement that's been happening on with regards to the board. I think some of it is good, some very good stuff. I think very briefly, let me just start. I think just today, on behalf of the board, I actually gave testimony to the Health and Hospitals Corporation with respect to Kings County Hospital. It was an opportunity for us to raise our profile in terms of developing that relationship with Health and Hospitals Corporation and let them know that, one, we support our hospital, and two, we need that to make sure that they continue to support our hospital. Kings County Hospital was very pivotal with regards to the response to the pandemic. And we want to make sure that we have a viable, solid community healthcare option. So I was able to speak there, as well as the first vice chair, who serves as the chairperson of the community advisory board as well. At the borough board meeting, again, our board, I think, was among the leaders with respect to representation, making sure that the communities and the boards have an opportunity to hear and give feedback on proposals. There were two proposals that were put forth for text amendments by the City Planning Commission. One of them was with regards to the FRESH program. This program is in conjunction with the Department of City Planning, where when they build supermarkets, so if there's developments where they build supermarkets in certain locations, it actually allows for certain density in terms of additional heights. So there were conversations, or there's a proposal to expand that as well. There are issues around that in terms of I think the DCPL had noted that in some instances where it's all of a sudden developers say, let's build a supermarket here because now we can add height, which just ends up adding, and sometimes the supermarkets they bring in aren't necessarily affordable options as well. So there are additional conversations that need to be had with respect to that, along with another text amendment that was proposed by Department of City Planning. This is with regards to physical, gyms, massage parlors. This would expand the zoning and the process by which they could actually come into communities. For both of these, myself and my colleagues, chairs of the other boards, we had serious questions with regards to the timing. This proposal was brought forth in late May, brought to the borough board for the June meeting, and the expectation was City Planning was going to vote on this in September. All of this happening without any input from the boards because we are all on hiatus, or the majority of us are on hiatus over the summer months. So we actually introduced a resolution from the borough board saying that recommending that DCP postpone this, so that way we can truly have a process where we can engage our communities and actually get information with regards to, are these truly in the best interest of the communities? The one thing we didn't want to have was any unintended consequences with this being passed, especially without public review. So that is something that the borough board is, they were supposed to send a letter. They're supposed to draft a letter and have that sent to DCP. When I get a copy of that, I'll try and make sure we forward that to the board as well. But definitely it's that level of advocacy we wanted to make sure we had.
Fred,
yes.
Are you able to give just a brief summary of what exactly this is? I am not entirely sure what is the issue. Like you said, it's a rezoning thing with supermarkets and gyms.
Right. Like, for example, there were two of them. One of them is the FRESH program. So that's with regards to supermarkets. So when developers are able to build, if they're building supermarket space or retail space for supermarkets, they are allowed to build, they get a bonus for, on top of whatever they build. So there are questions with the way that was going to be implemented and if that's expanded. So we felt that that's something that needs more significant public review before that just goes. And we felt that it was inappropriate for it to not even be addressed by the boards before that goes through. The second part, the text amendment, was with regards to facilities like gyms, massage parlors, physical therapy places. Currently, those places are regulated in terms of, I think it goes through BSA, I think the Board of Standards and Appeals, where those have to actually go through that first. So the text amendment was going to change the process in terms of the way that happens, ostensibly to make it easier for them to get, to get zoned and be able to get, to get spaces in different communities. There were questions around that as well in terms of we don't want any unintended consequences with regards to, okay, well, all of a sudden now you have 15 gyms moving in, or You have massage parlors that sometimes aren't massage parlors, and other things of that nature. So we felt that that was something that needed more public, public scrutiny before that goes forward. And we felt that the board needed an opportunity to do that. And scheduling it right before the hiatus, we felt was inappropriate. It was just, in my words, disrespectful. I don't know why you would schedule something like that, knowing full well the boards are not going to meet in July and August and think you have a vote. And it's something that's representative of what the people want. So that's one of the things we put forward. Let's see. The ULURP chair had already discussed this a little bit with regards to 960, and I had sent an email out to the board kind of outlining many of the same points. So the TRO was lifted on June 4th. Around that same time, no, I'm sorry, the TRO was put back into place around June 4th. At that same time, and we had discussed that in the last general board meeting, CB9 had been added as a respondent to the lawsuit. So we had received a request to testify before the court on June 10th. It was last week, I think. Yeah, June 10th, last week, Thursday. So I did go and represent the board. I provided testimony to the judge. And the judge felt that our position was compelling. So she lifted the TRO and denied a primary injunction. I think she denied an injunction. So we are permitted to actually go forward with the hearing. Now, the one thing that didn't happen was there was no clock added back to it, which meant that basically we have until the end of this, the end of our session to actually have the hearing. So with that being said, we drafted the notice. The only date that was available that would have worked for us was Monday the 21st. So we crafted the notices. We sent the notifications to the city record as well as the Department of City Planning. And we've also sent notices, we've also blasted it out to all of our partners through the email blast as well. So we will be convening next week, Monday. The hearing starts at 6 p.m. The doors open at 5:30. The registration process is currently open. It'll be on the Zoom platform. We currently have 500. The district office is currently in the process of trying to get that expanded to 1,000. So we feel that 1,000, we should be able to have sufficient capacity to cover all those attendees who come to testify.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
I'm sorry?
Can I just ask a quick clarifying question? I'm sorry.
Sure, absolutely.
We're inviting the public to come to the general board meeting, or are we holding a separate meeting to talk about 960?
The hearing is separate from the board meeting. So the hearing is going to be on the 21st. That's the opportunity for the public to provide testimony. The board will actually be voting on the application at the June board meeting.
So it's June 21st.
June 20, yes. And then June 23rd is the board meeting.
At what time?
I'm sorry.
On June 21st, 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Perfect.
6 p.m.
So
Adding it to my calendar. Thank you.
my only concern is, if we get that expanded to 1,000, obviously there's going to be significant amount of people wanting to do public commentary, but policing, or I should actually not say policing, moderating, up to 1,000 people on Zoom is going to be a near impossible task. So I don't know if there's a way for Zoom to test out a system where we have people queued for questions and then they're able to be brought up, and then we have the community board members as panels, as a panel, visible, and then everybody else. I just don't know how to do it to ensure, because it could quickly devolve into a situation where we can't maintain order with that many people.
Right. No, there's definitely a concern, and that's one of the things that we've been looking at in terms of the logistics. So part of the registration is we actually group, and everyone is muted until people are called up to give their testimony. So it's not similar to this where you might see the gallery. It's going to be more similar to, yes, we'll probably have a webinar panel, and then people will be spotlighted at the appropriate time. So part of the registration process is people have been giving their emails, giving their names if they're testifying in favor or in opposition. The work that happens in the background is we group those. So we'll say the first 5 in favor of the proposal, they will be called. They get their 2 minutes, they speak. Next group of 5 are those who are speaking in opposition. We call their names. They're given the mic for 2 minutes, shut off after 2 minutes, and then we continue through the list. So absolutely, that's definitely one of those things that was a concern, but that's the way we're going to manage that. As part of the due diligence, I did have a conversation with CB6, who actually just recently went through a hearing for Gowanus. So we've implemented some of the lessons learned from that as well. It was a good conversation. I think we're coming from a place where, when we told them the plan that we were looking at implementing, they were in agreement. They said, no, this is the plan. Either they followed or absolutely we were going in the right direction with respect to that.
Sounds great. I just have a quick question. So if committee chairs or others want to speak either in favor or opposition, or do we need to also separately register, or will we be given an opportunity to speak separately?
We are arranging for the board and for the ULURP committee to have automatic spots because we want to make sure that they're not shut out. But if you do intend to testify, Dante, do you want them to let you know, or should they just register on their own?
Let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, let us know.
Let me just say something, because I did watch one, a public hearing recently, and the board members, I can't remember what community board it was, but recently I watched it. The board members actually, they had board members that actually testified, and the board members that testified actually had to be on the list to testify. The rest of the board members were there. They actually had to do their paperwork too, because what they did was they called all testimonial, they called all the board members that was to testify first before they went to the public. That's how I watched it. So it makes sense. Now for the rest of us, that's what I wanted to ask you. For the rest of us that are not going to testify, we will be given numbers to get in. I mean, ID to get in, or what do you want us to do there? Because our committee members need to be
right. The district office is going to register you automatically, so you'll have a spot. Because the one thing we wanted to avoid was that, I don't know how it happens, but we wanted to make sure that you had a spot and you weren't shut out and you weren't able to get into the proceedings, because you absolutely should be there. So the only point at that point is if board members want to speak, I think it's just a matter of letting Dante know so we can make sure we add you to the roster appropriately in terms of if you're speaking in favor or in opposition.
I think if the board members actually want to testify for public record, I think they should put in a written form like everybody else, because that is a part of a public record.
Hey, this is Warren. I have a comment.
Yes.
Basically, in terms of what Pat is asking about, each committee has a direct line to the ULURP committee. And this is a hearing for public comments. So the community board has the obligation for each committee to submit their comments separately to the ULURP committee to be integrated into the resolution. So, in terms of committee members testifying, I think that's great. Everybody should testify. But remember, your main responsibility is to give your committee recommendations directly to the ULURP committee in order to be integrated into our response.
Right. Now, the only caution I would add there is I want this is for you to, the respective committees to consider. I'm not sure, because of the TRO and because of the timing, if anyone was actually able to actually have a vote in terms of establishing the position of the committee. Exactly. So I'm not sure how much we can do for that. I think it might be appropriate in terms of if committees members or the chairs wish to testify in terms of the conversations and some of the findings that came out of the committee. I think that's probably fair, but it might not be appropriate to actually have a recommendation from the committee sans a vote. And, and I understand it was definitely a difficult position because, we were on hold so long with this TRO that we weren't able to do anything and we were barred from doing that. And then all of a sudden it gets released and it's like, okay, now we got to do this within a very compressed time frame.
Right. So the board would vote yay or nay. But another thing, when automatically you said the board members would be let in. I understand. What about the ULURP committee? Because remember, all of them are not board members. So I want to make sure that the that the ULURP committee members are let in.
They will have seats. No, the ULURP will have seats. They will be pre-registered.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see. Is there anything I need to add with respect to that?
I just wanted to ask a question
Sure.
regarding the hearing. I know we had some discussion whether they were going to be in person, and the judge ruled on that because some people said I don't have access to Zoom or computers and all that stuff. Was there any announcement or consideration made for that?
Well, I think what the judge decided, I think that had always been whether we were going to have physical space, if there was going to be a physical place for us to meet. I think the board had kind of addressed that at the last meeting where we said, you know what, the physical, we opted out of doing that in terms of we said we were just going to be purely virtual. We made the arguments in front of the judge in terms of, why we felt virtual was the best option for us at that point, at which point she asked questions about, well, how do we handle that in terms of access, in terms of people, being able to, to testify, people having the opportunity to do so, which is part of the reason why we made sure we expanded the Zoom license. I think Zoom gives us an opportunity to, one, be able to participate the same way we're doing here, but also it allows for call-ins. So through the registration process, people can just call in terms of if they don't have computer access, if they have phone access, which I believe the majority of the community does have, they can still call in, participate, and be able to supply testimony. And additionally, as part of the notice, one of the things we did is we try to provide multiple avenues for giving that testimony as well. So you can log in, you can call in, you can email in. If you want to write a letter, you can drop it off at the office as well. We'll accept testimony in that manner. So we try to give as many different opportunities for people to be able to do that, but at the same time respect social distancing and recognize that we're at the end. Well, we're near the end, but at the same time, it wasn't the time for us to necessarily say let's get everybody in a space together.
And they're live streaming it anyway on Facebook. Am I correct?
Exactly, and it's being live streamed anyway, which I think one of the arguments about OML was it was always that we're supposed to be able to operate and people are supposed to be able to see what we're doing. So to alleviate the strain on the Zoom license, we said, okay, well, listen, we can actually broadcast this on Facebook Live for anybody who wants to see the actual proceedings. I actually was able to view the CB6 proposal. They streamed it on YouTube. I was able to go to their YouTube channel and I watched it from for a large portion of it. But yes, the opportunity was there to view it, which is in line with OML. And the judge, felt that our argument was compelling.
But I just want to say this now. When I watched the public hearing, I was not able to unmute myself. Like, in other words, I was just a person because I was really just looking at it. So when I was watching it, you could not, I don't know how it was controlled. Evidently it was controlled from their office or whatever. But at the end of the day, then they would call up 5 people. Somebody would call the 5 people's names and then they had a timer, right? And then they unmuted these people because they had the names up there of who was going to speak, and then they unmuted those people. So I don't know, Dante, how that's done, but it could be done basically from the office. Like, in other words, we don't unmute ourselves, because if that's the case, I agree, it would be chaotic if people could unmute themselves.
No, absolutely. Okay, let me see. So we just
Excuse me,
let me
Fred.
just go through. Yes,
Fred
go ahead, Warren.
Warren, I just want to make one thing very clear, that the judge accepted our arguments and we were told to proceed. In terms of the technical questions which Pat is raising, which are appropriate, that's something that we've been working on for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I think that we found the solution using the webinar and increasing Zoom. And under that format, Pat, it will not be able to unmute yourself because only the panelists can speak and the person testifying.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right then. Okay, I think we discussed the BFT presentation.
Before you move on, I got just one
Sure.
other question.
Sure.
In terms of the presentation, did you speak with the developer?
I'm not sure. Have we reached out? No, not yet, but we'll let them
That's
know that they will have an
important.
opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I mean, they really should have.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about Monday. They really should have known so they could get their 10 minutes together. And also, I think you wanted to reach out to Botanical Gardens. Were they notified also?
Botanical Gardens separately, have they been notified that the hearing is happening? I think they've expressed, and they might be interested in speaking as well.
Okay.
So we're looking into
if you're not
that.
gonna reach out, I'll reach out because that's not, I mean, how are you gonna have a public hearing and you don't have a developer there?
No, absolutely. We're gonna make sure that they know.
I spoke to somebody at the Botanic Gardens today, by the way. They definitely know. They're registering their union members to come and speak in opposition and trying to get as many people to come to the hearing as possible.
No, I was talking about like people giving a like the developer has to give a presentation to the people of the community because all the people of the community doesn't know what we know. So they should have really been notified. I mean, I don't see that is going.
Yeah, no, and some of the delay has been in conversations I've been trying to have with different entities. Like I said, I just connected with CBE6 to have that conversation. I spoke with DCP as well. Had a quick conversation with Borough Hall in terms of just trying to figure out what are the different ways people are managing it to kind of see what the best practice is. So that's why I held off a little bit in terms of before I started saying, oh, listen, everybody come in, because I've seen it done, or I've heard that, some of the practices where they don't speak. The assumption is everybody's already had their turn. So it's really about just letting the people have their opportunity to speak.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you're going to, I think the developer, so they're going to do their 10-minute presentation. And they should have been notified. I mean, you got stuff going all around, except for the people that need to be there to explain what they are proposing to the community. And to me, they need to be notified. I think that if we go on and on, now we just us talking to ourselves.
No, they will. They will. And remember, but ultimately, this is the opportunity for the public to weigh in. We will definitely make sure the outreach happens shortly, very soon. But the main thing is we want to make sure this is the opportunity for the public to weigh in on this issue at this point and provide their testimony. But these are all being worked in, and we're fine tuning as we're going along as well.
All I'm asking is that the developer be notified, because remember, we have people for and against. And my point is that if you're talking about a public hearing, they should know this is going to take place. And they will be notified.
They will be notified. We will make sure we confirm that they are notified, and we will offer them an opportunity to present. That is what's going to happen shortly. Okay. I do have one last item with respect to that, only because this is something I just want to make sure that we are solidified with respect to how this is going to run. I'm not sure. Dante, were you able to send out a draft to the executive committee?
I'm about to send it right now.
Okay, and I apologize because again, I think there's been a lot of conversations. It's been one of those days and one of those weeks. But what we tried to do was at least draft some protocols with respect to the hearing itself, in terms of some of the rules that we're going to be adhering to. Typically, this would have been something that we would have looked for from the ULURP committee, but things have moved so quickly that I'm not sure we had they didn't have an appropriate opportunity to be able to do this. But what I'm going to look for is a vote by the executive committee this evening, so that way we can address some of these points. Hopefully you have it by email. I will read it out loud so that way you can understand the protocol, and we'll take some questions. So the suggested protocol for the ULURP hearing is all participants must remain muted until recognized by the chair or the designee. So this speaks to the point about everyone is on mute. So we're not going to have, we're not relying on the participants to unmute themselves. Everyone's going to be on mute, and everyone must remain muted. 2, speakers will be called in alternating groups of 5. The groupings will be based on the position identified as part of the registration for the hearing. So going back to the registration process, anyone who's registering to speak also needs to identify what their position they're taking, and the district office is going to use that information to create groupings so that way we can make sure we have alternating positions, but everyone is being heard. Next item is testimony will be limited to a maximum time of 2 minutes. This is one of the points that I think we had discussed. It had come up in the mock protocol that was submitted before of 1 minute, anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. 1 minute is probably too short. 3 minutes is going to be too long, especially as we expect a very large turnout. And just from speaking with different parties, 2 minutes seems to be about the standard with regards to providing testimony for city hearings. Next item is the transfer of time from one speaker to another is prohibited. We wanted to make sure that this is clear and upfront, where it's not a matter of I'm going to speak for a minute, or we have 5 people speak for a minute and they decide they want to give their that extra minute to one person who's going to speak for 7 or something like that. So that's being prohibited. People get allowed to speak. Once you have finished, your time is expired. The next speaker will go on and they'll be allowed to speak for their 2 minutes. Speakers, next item is speakers will only be allowed to speak once for the hearing. So everyone will have their opportunity to speak for 2 minutes, but only once. Multiple registrations will be canceled. So in case there's anyone thinking of gaming the system where I'll register 3 times and wear a fake mustache every time or something like that, that's not going to be allowed. People will be allowed to speak once. Next item is if your name is called to speak and you do not respond, you'll be moved to the end of the list of registered speakers. If you do not respond to the second call to speak, you will be deemed as having withdrawn your request to provide testimony to the board at the hearing. So this is from a conversation, in terms of that I had with CB6. The way they handled it was because they ran the registration process a little bit different. If you missed your place, you were taken off the list, but you had an opportunity to re-register so that way you could speak later on in the list. We are closing our registration a little bit earlier, or day of registration a little bit earlier. So we're providing an opportunity if you have missed, your call for some reason when your name is called, you can speak again, but only after we've exhausted the list. So you'll have to wait. At that point, we need people to be diligent. But if we call you a second time and you do not speak, then the policy is that you've withdrawn your request. Next item is the hearing may be recessed at the discretion of the chair. This is probably going to be a long night. We need to have the opportunity to provide breaks on occasion. One, just so that people can go get a glass of water or use the facilities, or even if we have some administrative items we need to take care of on the back end with making sure that the lists are correct, that people have been added in. And then the last piece of it is about written submissions. We have included that already as part of the notice, where written submissions, we've indicated a final day by which we will be accepting written submissions. Dante, can you recall off the bat when we said was the last time we were accepting written testimony?
Yeah, I gotta go. I have another meeting. I'm sorry, but do you need me for anything in the next 2 minutes?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good then.
All right, my bad. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. But thank you though.
Let's see. Last written testimony is Tuesday, June 22nd, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So 4 p.m. on June 22nd.
Okay. Right. So what we wanted to do is allow for people who wanted to still submit testimony. So we have a cutoff of June 22nd. Hopefully this also allows us to be able to compile written testimony in terms of identifying the salient points and being able to communicate that to the board as well. And again, in line with our position that, in addition to provide, to speaking, people can provide written testimony that can be considered by the board. So that cutoff time would be the time and date that the district manager had specified. So again, this is a protocol that we wanted to establish just to make sure that we're able to publish this on the website as the rules for the hearing. These will be repeated at the beginning as well, so that everyone is aware of the way we're operating. So they understand that we're going to be consistent in terms of how we're running the hearing. are there any questions with regards to what's in front, or are there any suggestions? Are there glaring omissions, things we need to add?
Yeah, Fred,
Yes, Pat.
can you send out that letter tomorrow in terms of the developer? Because either
Yeah.
it doesn't come from the district, it was either gonna come from me, which I'm not chairing, or yourself. So can you send it out tomorrow and let them know?
Yeah, Pat. Yeah, I've already committed. Yeah, we're going to take care of that. We're going to get it out. We're going to get that taken care of. All right. Are there any questions with regards to the protocol, the proposed protocol? Okay. Seeing none. At this point, I would like to entertain a motion to accept these protocols, so that way we can make sure that they're posted on the website and they will be announced at the beginning of the hearing.
So made.
Do I have a motion?
So
I
made
have
by
it.
Warren.
I have it moved by Warren Burke. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second by Alejandro Carballo. I see 4 members of the exec present. Are all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Madam Secretary, if you could record it as a unanimous vote, the protocol is adopted by the Executive Committee. Okay. All right. And the last item, and I think this has already been discussed as well. So elections for the board scheduled for June 23rd. June 23rd is going to be a very busy day for us, but I think this will hopefully be assisted by the fact that we're leveraging the technology. So as the district manager had said, we'll be using the Google Forms platform. That will be tested out prior to, and the link will be sent out on election night, where members will have an opportunity to vote and cast their votes for the incoming slate of officers. Okay, that is all I have for my report. We've voted on the one action item I had. Are there any other questions before we conclude?
No, what about SLA applications?
There was no report from public safety, but we will consider that as, well, we can add that as we create the, I think we can actually go to the next item on the agenda, and we can address that right there.
Thank you.
I have to step away for just 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, well, listen, let's begin, and we'll catch Alejandra up with regards to the agenda. So for the proposed agenda, so we're going to have the public session, call to order. We will have code of conduct, call to order, rules of conduct. We will then have presentations. Now for presentations, we have BFC is coming to present on their rooftop application. Is that correct, Dante?
Correct.
Okay. Rooftop application. All right. Do we have any other presenters scheduled?
What about the candidates for office making statements prior to the election?
That would happen during the business session when we go into nominations.
Okay.
The nominations committee. Okay. All right. So we have the one presentation by BFC. All right. We have one SLA application.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you could provide the details for that, we'll leave the placeholder. Just provide the details for the applicant. All right. After that, we have public commentary, followed by acknowledgements. Okay. At which point that ends the public session. Then we begin the business session. Business session open with the roll call, followed by approval of minutes. Followed by committee reports. All right, and for all the chairs present, if we can, as is the last meeting, because we have a packed night, I would ask that if we can just submit minutes for whatever we have. We want to keep these very, very short, very, very short if we can, because we have two major items we have to consider under the committee reports. So we'll have nominations. We'll have nominations, elections. After that, we will have the chairman's report. Oh, actually, yeah,
No.
nominations.
Yeah, elections should be held early as possible.
Here's the problem. Nominations committee would have to take the floor. They would also have to allow for all the candidates to give their spiel. That should probably
Yeah,
happen
isn't that-
before we go into the reports.
Isn't that under the nominations committee, which you just mentioned?
Yeah, I said nominations, elections.
No, that's fine where it is.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
and people can vote during the committee reports, everything else.
Yeah. Okay. So we can do that. Nominations, elections.
Mhm.
All right. We'll leave that there for now. Then we will go to voting items. Well, hold on. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the chairman's report. Let's hold off nominations. Nominations will come a little bit later, or elections will come a little bit afterwards. Let's do the committee reports. Let's have the chairman, the DM report. DM report, chairman's report, which I'll try and make as brief as possible. Then we'll go to the voting items. We will do SLA application, because I think we can get that out really quickly. It's going to be a long night, yeah. Then we have elections. We can do the elections. And then we'll have the ULURP vote. Then we will have unfinished business, followed by new business, which we really will have none. And then we will adjourn.
Fred,
Couple
my
of questions.
comment is,
Couple of comment, if you allow me.
Yeah, go ahead.
One, can the ULURP vote be part of the election, like the other part of the voting items? You vote for a slate of electors, and then you vote for a particular, for this particular item at the same time within the Google platform.
All right, I'm trying to think of, during the nominations committee,
I have a comment to make about that. I think we
Go
should
ahead.
have elections sooner, before the ULURP vote and before the chair report and the committee reports. Give our members an opportunity to vote, and then after the ULURP, prior to the ULURP, have the results of the elections. What I'm
Right.
concerned with is losing a quorum.
Mhm.
We don't, and it's a concern. We don't have an option, and we just really need to kind of whip the board into this one. Listen, unfortunately, we're in a position where this is the meeting.
Okay.
This is what it is, and we need for people to come through. But to your point, I think we can do the nominations and the elections at the same time, so people can speak. The ballots can, the link can be sent out to all the board members. That
Yeah,
can
'cause
happen. Yeah, that can happen separately while we're giving the DM report, the chair report, and then
I
we go
agree.
into the other items.
I mean, we have
Um,
5 or 6 people running for positions, and I
right.
think they deserve the time to speak unrushed,
Yeah.
and then for our board members to consider their votes, and then to vote.
Yeah. So, okay. So then the election will happen right there. And I think that gives sufficient time. So if we open up the poll right after those speeches, then
Yeah.
we have the DM report, the chair report, the voting items, then we can go into the SLA application. And we could even still go into the Euler vote, and after we conclude that, probably have the election results.
Correct. I mean, my point is we don't want to rush our members. That's all.
Well, I
Right, no.
agree, because you're gonna have, first of all, you're gonna have new members, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
these are not
yeah.
people that have been around, these are new members. And I agree with you, Fred, in terms of, let us just put the minutes in. I don't think that we need to speak, the other chairs, have a long conversation about nothing. Put your minutes in, let the people read the minutes.
Yeah, we're going to keep it very short, very brief.
Because you're gonna lose people, and I agree with Warren. If you don't do certain things early, you're not gonna have those people going. They gotta go to work the next day, and some people go to bed at 9 o'clock. So you,
Like me.
yeah, okay.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, but I think this agenda, as we've written it out, it states the things we need to do. Some of
Correct.
it's just going to be flow in terms of we're just going to have to make it flow. The election piece is going to have to run concurrently, and we're just going to have to move through everything. Chairman's report, I will try and keep very brief. SLA application, I think we'll deal with most of that. I think that's up front. The bulk of that time is probably going to be the Euler vote, where we'll have to, have the conversation, have the discussion, be able to discuss testimony, whatever we need to do. But I do want to be able to get to a vote. We do need to get to that as quickly as possible. I agree.
Good.
Okay. All right then. Are there any other changes? Are there any suggestions with regards to changing this agenda?
No,
Yes.
mine will be brief.
Yes. I got an email today from one for request for a full board presentation by the 10% for art. Can we postpone them until September?
I think that's best at this point. We have a very big, very packed agenda. I think we can afford the 10 minutes at this point.
Okay.
I think we'd have to
thank
defer
you.
until September.
Great.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as written, as stated.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Alejandro Carballo. Seconded by
Second.
Warren Burke. Okay. All those members of the exec in favor, say aye. Aye. Ms. Williams, are you still with us? Oh, okay, there we go. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please record that as a unanimous vote by the Executive Committee to adopt the agenda. Okay. Is there any other business that we need to consider at this time?
I was
Seeing
thinking
none.
about a raise for our stipends.
You've been doing great, Warren. You get a 100% raise on your CV9 pay.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I do want to make a comment though. This whole ULIP thing for Pat, Fred, and the executive committee has taken a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think we're very well thought out here. Does it mean that our hearing will go perfectly? Probably not. But between the administrative staff and Fred, these things are being worked out. The major part about the hearing is to hear from the community. we've been studying different New York City hearings, and, hopefully we're prepared. Okay, but nothing is guaranteed. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
say that.
No, I mean, just to echo that sentiment, we're prepared. I think we're at this point because of the hard work that all the committee chairs,
Yep.
the ULURP committee, the district office team, everyone has taken this seriously, and we've given this the respect that this deserves. That's the only reason why we're at this point, because truly the expectation was this thing would have been bogged up in court for another couple of months at the very least. But I was able to go there and give testimony that really reflected the hard work of this board, and that's what won the day. So I just really want to convey that, and I want to thank you all for doing this. We still have some work to do, but I think as a board, we've done the things we need to do, and we've set the expectation, and I think that's a triumph right there, there.
And I do want to give kudos to Fred for making obviously an excellent presentation to the judge, because she accepted it, and knowing that we're all volunteers. This has been how should I put this, a good time-consuming process on all of us. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
I just wanted to say one thing in terms of the board members. When we send out, maybe Fred, you can ask them to really try to attend, because if they attend, they can really we can do that vote real quick, one way or the other, if they're able to attend the public hearing. We can
How
vote and
many
get it over with. We don't
how
got
many board members?
Huh?
Pat, do you know how many board members we need for the public hearing? It's like 20% or something.
20%. Yeah, we only need 20%. But what I'm saying is that if the board members could at least come in on part of it, so that when we do vote on the 23rd, nobody's asking like 50 questions.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying? And then we try and just move it on so that we don't spend the night.
No, that's exactly right.
Is that good with you, Fred?
No, I agree, and I will definitely send some additional notifications to the board. I mean, we're in the crunch time. I mean, I think, there's just no way around it. We're in the crunch, but this is where, as a board, we need to make sure we're just committed to this, and we have to do this. And if we do this and we do it seriously, it doesn't have to take all night.
You're right. True.
But but at the same time,
we have to have the proper process.
Right, and that's the thing. I think we're going to have a proper, we're going to have a proper and respectful process with opportunities to ask those questions. But then hopefully that means that we'll be able to move and be all of clear mind in terms of we'll move as a board and we'll cast our votes.
And also for those 6 people that are running for, I think it's 2 positions, they usually only speak about 2 minutes each. They don't go on and on and on and on and on. Nobody wants to hear them go on and on. Get to the point, like it's always been, 2 minutes. Say what you got to say, why you feel you're qualified for. It's really 2 positions that we're going to vote on the other ones, but there's no competition. It's only 2 positions where it's competition, so it shouldn't take us that long.
Right. And what position is that? I just don't remember the name.
I don't remember everybody's name, but
the name of the positions.
I want to say member at large is the one that's contested.
That's it.
That's it.
Member at large. That's the only one that I mean, we all got to still vote, but the member at large is only where people going to be talking, because other people have nobody to vote. There'll be nobody to challenge them.
Yeah, and it's critical because all the officers to be elected, they need a majority vote. So I mean, this is people need to vote, and they need to say yay or nay, and it needs to be a majority vote. And we need to have a quorum, and more importantly, we need to make sure we maintain a quorum throughout the entire process.
And that's what Warren is saying, that if you do that early.
Right. Well, I mean, we're going to do it
early.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I definitely want to make sure that we move this. I definitely don't want to drag this through. But at the same time, I think we also have to make sure the process is done appropriately and correctly, because then we just run into problems at the back end of this. But that's why I always say, it's like, listen, I want to set the expectation. We try and move these things as quickly as we can, but I need the commitment of the board to make sure the agenda gets done. That's the main thing. we'll
Is
do
that-
everybody will do our parts. Hopefully, everybody doesn't have 50,000 questions. But I mean, as long as we can make sure we move to get this agenda done, I think it's doable. But we just have to be committed to it.
And
Yeah, I
Hello,
think-
can you hear me?
Warren, before
Yes,
you
Ms.
say something, let me just finish. I just wanted to know, now the board secretary, does
That's
she
right
know
here.
does she know that she has to keep the minutes for the, for Monday's, public hearing? You know that, right? Oh, okay.
She's not, yeah.
Yeah, but what minutes are there? We have the recording.
Board members, can you hear me?
Yes. we
Hello,
can hear you, Ms. Wilson.
Evelyn.
I have been saying for at least 20 times that I'm here. I wanted to say something. It's too late now, but I don't know. Someone moved me and I couldn't get back in. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we didn't hear you.
Yeah, you've been in the meeting the whole time.
I have said it. I have it all on my phone. I think it's 20 times. However, whatever happened, something happened. And I just want to say that this was a wonderful meeting. The time is good. And I did agree with Pat that for the minutes, the committee minutes, you could just announce that they all could read the minutes and just bypass that because that's going to take us a long time.
Yeah.
Thank
One of
you,
the things we're
Evelyn.
moving for is
Some
we
minutes
don't need
may
to-
have questions and some people may want to ask questions. So if it's there, we all could read it.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Good point,
Okay.
Evelyn. Thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you.
All right then. I think we've reached the end of our agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
Oh, before you adjourn, you sent out something for Thursday?
So-
What, some greet and meet and something?
Yeah,
Yeah, what is that?
it's a greet and meet. You know, like for the new members to meet the executive board, the chairs.
Yeah, because unfortunately, that's one of the, I'm not sure what's going on, but members seem to be joining the board later and later every year. And to the point where it's like they're really going in cold, where it's like they have no idea who anybody is. This will be their first meeting. In the first meeting, they have a ULURP vote plus electing officers and 50 other things. Timing was tight, and especially, with the hearing coming up, but we wanted to find an opportunity just to say hi and they can see a face. Without the first time being, it's like, okay, well, all of a sudden I make all these big decisions.
Yeah,
So
and plus
this
we
is
want to
something-
see them.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is just an opportunity to put a name and a face before we actually, go and conduct business.
Exactly.
I'm gonna bring
That
my
is
own
good.
champagne.
Well, maybe I'll
And I
come
will-
Don't
over.
be selfish,
Pat.
Pat. Don't be
And I
selfish.
will drink. I will drink.
Ms. Red? Ms. Red?
You know, Pat,
Make sure it's red champagne.
yeah, Pat, you better be careful. You could have a party. Okay.
Okay. All right then, everyone. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I just
Oh,
want to say that, as you said earlier, Mr. Chair, I so admire and respect and is so pleased with what's been happening with the committee chairs and the way the board is going right now. We have been in a stagnant situation for quite a while, but it seems like we're turning the corner, the positive corner, and I hope that it will continue this way.
And yes, Fred, you did an excellent job. We even made the newspaper
Yes.
giving us
Where?
a compliment. Normally, we always on the other side.
What newspaper did we
Very,
make?
very
Pat?
good.
You sent
Very
it to me,
good. Yes.
Warren.
Say that again.
You sent it to me.
Oh, so
And-
I guess I don't remember because I'm old.
And the ULIP chair has been, I had no idea she could talk that much, but she's doing a wonderful job.
Listen,
Yeah,
this
and
is
all
wonderful
the
job.
members. And
A team
plus
effort.
Alejandra, and Alejandra's job is work.
Alejandra is good. Yes, she's good.
I mean, that's
Every-
work. So thank you.
In everybody's own way, we are making the board look good for our new chair, and our new chair is going to make sure that it continues along with the district manager, right?
absolutely. The rookie's been doing great. The rookie's been doing great.
Yeah, he's still trying out, Evelyn. So
Well, I'm trying to boost him along so that he could try a little harder.
That's okay. You don't need to boost
point.
him, Ms. Williams. Don't worry about him. He doesn't need no boosting.
No boosting?
No boosting. No boosting.
Okay.
You know,
No, my
Evelyn,
chair
This
has
is
always
tough
been,
love, hard knocks.
my
Yeah, you
chair
know-
has principle, and this is what the board needed, and there's a lot of principle on the board now, and that's where it is. That's what matters.
Thank
Exactly.
you so much, Ms. Williams. All right, let me turn you people loose. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move.
I have 19
Second.
motions. Okay. Madam Secretary, pick one. All those in favor say aye.
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 We stand adjourned. Time is now 8:43. Everyone, thank you so much.
No
This
Thank
has
you.
not happened.
Thank
This
you
has
all.
not happened in 100 years. This is so good. This is so good.
That's
Well, I'll
good to
see
hear.
you on Thursday then.
Yeah, yes, you
Okay.
will, Pat. Maybe I'll see you in the park.
Take care, everyone.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Everyone. Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye,
Good
Mr.
night.
Warren. Good night.
Goodbye, Miss Evelyn. Bye-bye.
Okay,
And thank
take
you
care.
all, Dante, everyone, etc.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.